He is?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's actually, he's videotaping it through a skit. He's videotaping the skit, so it's fun. And, when we get there on stage and.
You're talking to
the musical.
Oh, it's gonna be cute.
So, and next Wednesday. So.
Hey, you're the man. Blair, good morning.
For the game. Next Friday.
I'll be on this one too, so.
Yeah, I will too.
I
I really love it.
Yeah.
I know, I have a friend who's some plays on the football team, and she's like, I love games, because I don't see the comments rolling.
You want me to log on? Mine?
Mine, I guess I'm going.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Is Shafi coming? Do we know?
I'm so sad. And she said she's down.
She's doing it online.
Okay.
She sent me a message this morning.
Last night was the one that was like, Lindsay.
Yeah, I see her all the time.
Yeah.
So, Nancy did this. I haven't seen her in a while. Mira que le están aquí caídas, digo, thank you. Que no me hizo yo. Yeah, because he has another one.
I know, I saw him last night. Julie Munoz.
Pineda, good morning.
Oh my God, this is. Yeah?
Yeah.
You're lucky I was being nice.
Movie festival, movie drive-in movie night, and the fall festival. And we do the addition thing. Well, I asked her about that, and she says, oh, we've never forgotten her.
Yeah, I almost gave her to a friend.
Yeah.
You tell her right now. Yeah.
McCollum, thanks for coming to the SAC meeting. All right, when Torres gets back, we'll kick off.
Help yourselves to some donuts back there.
Oh,
Thank you for doing that, Koval. I appreciate it. Is Janet out front directing traffic?
Yes,
I pass it every day.
Torres.
This was my son.
Oh, she's not back, sorry.
She was driving her laptop.
Oh, okay.
Ready. You just got it.
Yeah, don't worry, you're gonna
Oh, Carmen wanted to know if this was assistant or just.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, and I was like, I don't think.
His permit, it's just new. It's his license and just in that one.
Parent teacher conference.
Oh,
Is your day off?
so I'm sleeping.
I'm at a training today.
Oh, my God.
My mom.
Virtual though, so I'll just be in that.
Do you know why they changed it? Because last time he said that it was
Wait, what?
last SAC meeting, he said that the next SAC meeting, this SAC meeting was gonna be on the
Class is
14th.
on Thursday.
Oh,
So we're already here, so last time he kicked us over to the cafeteria.
and you guys were like, that was a one-time thing, buddy.
And then you can do it.
I don't know, he didn't have to get
Oh, okay.
And then,
or say anything.
so it is been great.
But there are 30 kids that come to chess club, so that's a lot of children to meet.
Sometimes all right.
So he, so he'll just, we'll go on and do this stuff, and then I see him at 9:30, 10 o'clock. Hello. Oh, no, he's very. Okay, now. Yeah.
We get rid of that car, and I see him, and I say we can get
Absolutely. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're gonna get started. We have a lot of information to get through. So I want to do a quick to kind of formalize this, the attendance, okay, of who all we have here. So I recognize the staff members. I recognize a few of our parents. So I'm going to ask you, I'm sorry, I'm going to feel really rude when I say this. I'm going to ask you guys to tell me your names one more time, okay? Some of our parents, all right? Because then I'm going to explain to you why it's so important, all right? So, Mom, help me out. Tell me your...
I'm Angie Cataya.
Gotcha, right here, perfect. Okay. And Mom, you were here last month too, right? What?
Ruth Rodriguez.
Ruth Rodriguez, that's right. All right, I'm gonna add you right here. All right, and tell me one more time. Kodo, got you right here. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do today, we have a lot of stuff to get through, like I said. Hopefully everybody knows me by now. If you don't, my name is Derek Navas. I'm the principal. We have a good mixture of staff and community members in here. This is our once-a-month meeting. This is our school advisory council. From here on out, we'll just refer to it as SAC, S-A-C, pardon me. And I told you guys really quick, well, we went into pretty good detail about our school data last meeting. So we're not going to talk about that as much, but today the big order of business is that we formalize a few things. And so we'll go over the minutes from last meeting really quick. We are gonna recognize our SAC for this year, the School Advisory Committee. Now, this is a public meeting, right? So we put it out on Dojo, we put it out on Connect Orange. This is open for all community members. However, there are a select few of you that we're gonna focus on today that are gonna commit to being here once a month, right, for about 30 minutes. And the reason this is so important is that we need to have a good balance between our community and our school staff, right? So in the school staff must be one less than the community. So for example, if we had a committee of 9 people, at least 5 would have to be community members and 4 could be staff members, right? It's interesting though. We have a very interesting dynamic here because we have a lot of staff members who are also parents. However, parents are the parent role trumps the staff role, right? So if you're here in both roles, then formally you're here as a teacher. But I love that you guys are here. I love seeing all the faces here this morning. This is a very important role. Not a ton of responsibility, but it's there's a lot of responsibility in the sense that we come in here and we have open dialogue, this conversation about things that are going on in the school and questions you might have, right? And help kind of steer the vision of the school. All right, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. But before we go any further, we'll review this really quick. We're going to talk about who's going to be our committee this year. We need to find out who our SAC chair is going to be. And essentially that person will work with me to kind of plan the agenda or the focus for the meeting, right? We'll come up with a co-chair, all right? That'll be the vice chair, I'm sorry. Yeah, vice chair. So that person will assume the role if the chair is absent, okay? And then finally, we need a secretary, all right? This will be someone who takes copious notes every week or every month, and so we'll get to that. And then we'll talk about the school improvement plan really quick. I want everybody in here to know kind of what our vision is for the school this year. And then we are going to talk really quick about the bylaws, right? I have copies of them here that I'll distribute. Basically, they're saying the bylaws are the guidelines that have been created here at Endeavor for the way in which meetings should be run. Okay? A lot of information. My goal is to get everybody out of here in the next 20 minutes or 25 minutes. So we're going to hustle, okay? If you have questions at any time, I want you to interrupt me. Raise your hand. Throw something at me, okay? All right? Johnson, don't throw anything at me, all right? Okay. All right, so here we go. So I kind of went right through this. The reason that this is most important right now is because anytime we vote on, yes.
You want me to review the minutes really quick?
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I got excited. We got talking about the committee. Zupa's going to run through just really quick the things that we talked about last meeting, okay?
Well, thank you guys for coming this morning. Last time we spoke a little bit about, first of all, we were live streaming on YouTube as we are today, right, Cora, for good?
Yep, we're live.
We had introductions for our new parents that joined us last time. We talked about our homeschool connection being strictly dojo, and I know we also post on Facebook, but the communication back and forth through parents were going through dojo. We gave an update on COVID and the things that were pertaining to COVID, so that parents understood what was happening and how parents are getting notified and if there was a case and how that was being handled. We also reviewed some data from the previous year, which we're not going to go over that. We talked about the SAC committee members and like what it would kind of look like. We didn't really vote on anything, it's just the idea out there. And then our next steps, we talked about the school improvement plans, and then we had some questions and answers. Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you, Zupa. And I apologize. I didn't thank everybody for being here. I do appreciate the commitment that you guys have made for a few minutes here, just to kind of go through this stuff. And I want to know your voice and your opinion about things and what we can do to make this the best place possible for your kiddos, okay? I told you guys really quick last meeting that the reason we couldn't vote anything because we didn't formalize our committee yet, right? And that's our goal. That's our first goal for today, is that last year I told you that, like, as a school, the school advisory council was in control of about $19,000, and that came from a number of different places. So we, being me, the school, asked the school advisory council for some of that money to drive our tutoring program, our after-school tutoring program. So they did. So the school advisory council just gave us the money, not all that money, but gave us some money to help drive our tutoring program, which was a huge success. We saw gains in certain areas that we probably wouldn't have without the tutoring program. But we have to formally vote on it, and we talk about quorum, all right? So we need to make sure that if we have 9 people on our committee, that if we're going to vote on something formally, that we have to have a majority of us here, okay? So like myself being the principal, I'm a voting member, so we need to have at least like 5 of 9 or 6 of 11, okay? Cool? All right, so here's what I have. Oh, wrong computer. All right. So let's talk about, before we get to this, I'm going to verify who we have here. Now, the one thing I forgot is the state of Florida is very much invested in school advisory council. This is a statute that there's basically a law saying that every school has to have a school advisory council, right? Or committee. All right. So with that being said, they do have certain provisions, right? Last year was kind of last year was very unique, right? And they allowed us to vote virtually, right? I love the live stream option that we have. It allows a lot of people who sometimes can't get here to tune in to see what we're talking about. However, in order to vote, all right, in order to be an active committee member and have a formal vote, it has to be in person. That's not my rule. That's the state of Florida. It's super unfortunate. So what we're going to do is we're going to formalize a committee today of people who can commit to being here for about 30 to 40 minutes once a month, okay? All right? So what I have here is, I'm gonna go through it really quick, and if I mispronounce your name, I apologize, okay? So from a staff perspective, I have Miss Johnson. All right, I have Kazar. I have Ricky. That's 3, right?
Yes.
3. I have Abreu, and that's 4. And I have Rincon, that's 5. All right. And Torres is 6. Sorry. Sorry. All right, so
And Blair.
Blair?
I don't know.
all right, so all right, so let's see. So we have someone write this down or keep track of me. So we have Torres, Johnson, Kazar, Ricky, Rincon, Abreu, and Janet.
Blair?
Blair, that's 8. That's a lot. Let's see though. So the only thing is so let's manage this really quick. Is we need to make sure that we have, if we're gonna have 8 staff members, then we need to have at least 9 community members, right? So we need to have 1 more community member than we do staff. Who's that? Yeah.
Community members are the parents.
It could be a parent, it could be a local businessman, it could be anybody. They don't necessarily have to be a parent. So,
Like we're formal.
Lauren Hutchinson, but she's out of
oh yeah, that's right.
she's out of the country right
Yep. So that's a really good point because Art brings up a good point. So, and this is a tough one, but my understanding that I got from the district is that if you're here if you're in that unique role as a staff member and a parent, which we have a handful on our staff, it's awesome. That the district will recognize you as a parent or as a staff member first. Okay. Okay. So it is what it is. It is what it is. So right now from staff we have 8 I said. So here we go. So community.
But do we all have to be able to vote?
No.
So like if I'm not on the committee, I'm just here for information, then I wouldn't have to be included.
Exactly. So Ricky brings up a good point, and this is where I was going to go after. Once I found out exactly. I appreciate you bringing it up. Once I find out exactly how many community members here, we can adjust our staff presence based on Ricky just brings up a good point. Like she just wants to be here for the information. Doesn't necessarily have to be a voting member, on the committee itself. She can just be present at the meetings. Okay. So hold on to that. It's a really good point. So community-wise, we have Angie. All right. Natasha.
So bad with the name.
I'm horrible. All right, here we go. All right, we have Miss Covell. We have Wallace. And I missed one.
Ruth?
Ruth Rodriguez. I typed your name and where did it go? That's 5. So Ruth Rodriguez.
Did you say Lauren Hutchinson?
Not yet.
Okay.
So Lauren. And then Miss is Shafi on virtually?
She is on
Yes.
virtually right now.
Ask her if she can commit to. I guess I can ask her. To committing to coming.
I put it in the chat. If anybody watching virtually is able to come in for any face-to-face meetings, we would love to add them as community voting members.
Yeah, really, the more the merrier. So I mean, I'm okay with having a big school advisory council. The only problem is we just need to make sure that we have at least half here to vote on anything that's worth voting on, like verifying. Hey, good morning. Come on in. Welcome. We have an empty table right here. Come on in. Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
All right. So then that gives us.
parents can be involved of the parents?
Say again?
Or parents? For the members.
Yep.
Can be both parents of the kids.
Yep.
Like if I come with my husband, we will
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I can,
You want him to come?
I can bring my husband.
Let's ask Miss Torres really quick what the online response has been as far as anybody, any of the parents on the,
So far, nobody has responded.
okay.
That's all good.
Lena would like to, but she just can't come at this time.
Who's that?
Lena Shaffy, because of the two little kids getting ready for school.
Oh, okay.
She just can't come at this time.
It's hard to come, this time.
Yeah, this is, well, so, and we can talk about that. So like, this is a meeting, this is a time for the people in this room. So we could talk about ways to adjust the time or the days. I've found that it's most consistent when people are here in the morning because they're able to drop their kids off and then stay for a few. The only other option would be like in an evening, but then that also creates issues where like people don't want to come after work, and I don't blame them, right? Like they put in a long day and then come to school and sit down for a half hour, an hour. And the evening meetings tend to run longer just because we don't have a hard deadline at the end, which is school. So let's talk about that as kind of some like closing business, and we'll talk about whether this works or if we need to adjust it. Okay. All right. So to recap the community, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 community members. That's everybody that's in here. I've included Shafi, but I'll talk to her about that in a minute, okay? That included Hutchinson. So we're good. That gives us 7, so we can have 6 staff members, okay? 6 staff members. So are there any of the staff members that are in here that are interested in being a part of the meeting but aren't necessarily drawing a line in the sand about having to be voting members? Because okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Ricky, perfect. Okay, thank you. So then that would give us Torres, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need 6. Okay. All right. No one come.
Rakan says she'll switch,
So
then I'm a voting member.
okay. All right. Okay, we're good. All right, so when we're done, I'll draft this up, and then what I'm gonna do is I will send you guys an email on the email that I have. Make sure that we are on point for the next meeting, okay? All right, we're good?
Good.
All right, so here, now we're gonna fly. We kind of have an idea of who our committee is. All right, thank you. Now, we're gonna get into, and again, this is a lot of business, the first meeting, is right here. So we have 3 roles that we need to identify today. And those roles are going to be
Blocking camera.
very low responsibility. I want everybody to know that, right? Like we're going to talk about the chair, which is essentially like the person on the committee who helps steer the meetings, right? It'll be less me eventually and more of them, okay? And then a vice chair, which is basically a backup. Like if the chair or the meeting leader can't be there for a reason, the vice chair would step in and run the meeting, all right? And then finally the secretary, which I talked about. But again, I don't want anybody to freak out about the chair. Those individuals will just work with me, and we'll talk about what we're gonna roll out for the meeting, okay? So what I'm gonna do, and the way this goes, is I'm just gonna I'm gonna motion, all right? Which means I'm gonna suggest, all right, a potential chair, and I'll throw it out there for the vice chair, and then out for the secretary. And then if anybody wants to self-nominate, if they say, hey, listen, this is a role that I'd really like to have, all right, you are more than welcome to do so, okay? So what I'm going to tell you right now is I think that it's good that between the chair and the vice chair, that we have a good mix between a staff member and a community member. I'll tell you right now that this is an awesome opportunity for aspiring leaders. When I was aspiring leaders. When I was a dean, I was on the school advisory committee, and it was a really good experience because it helps you get a different understanding of the school, okay? I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna nominate for the SAC chair, okay? I'm gonna nominate Ms. Torres, who, I think is one of our, bright rock star teachers. I think that she would do a good role, do a good job in that role. So does anybody else want to self-nominate? Because we also have a co-chair too, or a vice chair that's a role someone could want to. So the way we vote here, there's no secret ballots or anything like that. We'll see that in the bylaws. It's all just voting by hand, right? So what I'll say is I motion for Ms. Torres to be our SAC chair. And then all I need is someone to say they second that, right? Like I second. Ms. Blair seconds this, and then we'll just do a vote by hands, okay? So are all in favor of Ms. Torres being our SAC chair? Perfect. So that's a majority, right? I'm not even gonna count. All right. Great job, Torres. All right. So the vice chair should be someone who, again, is a community member, right? Not necessarily a staff member, so we continue to have good balance. Okay. All right. So again, too, I don't want anybody to freak out by like saying I'm the vice chair of the school advisory council and then panic about like preparation. I don't want you to freak out about that because you'll work with me and Torres. Okay. So is there a community member in here that would like to self-nominate? All right.
But a question.
Yeah.
What are the qualifications you should have to do it, and what is the time you will need to spend?
I love it.
Because if it's
I already have someone in mind. All right.
if it's a leadership thing that you need to have, well,
Yep.
I work with kids, so I can maybe back up her or work with her.
Excellent question. So,
But
so for everybody in the room, maybe didn't hear, is it like, what are the qualifications to be a chair? And what are the responsibilities? So the responsibilities are going to be very minimal, right? In that, like, we're going to talk about what's important for the meeting, all right? And then we'll make sure that when we come here, it's meaningful, not to just a few people, but to all people, right? There are no qualifications, right? You're here, you're invested, you're either a community member or you're a staff member, and that's basically it. So it sounds like I'm hearing some interest. All right, great, all right.
I second.
All right. So, Angie, how do we pronounce
and
that?
I definitely.
Well, we're gonna vote on it now.
So,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Can you pronounce Miss
Angie
last name?
Cartaya.
All right, Cartaya.
Very, very.
I'm gonna work on it.
Latin,
Yeah, I'm gonna work
very
on
Latin.
All right, so we have a motion for Miss Cartaya. All right, I need a second.
Second.
All right, perfect. And so we'll do a vote by hands for our vice chair, Ms. Cartaya. Okay, all right, good job. Get some stuff done here. I like it. Okay.
But I'm gonna be your assistant, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, perfect. All right, so the last role, and this is in the bylaws, and my last school that I was at did not have this role in the bylaws, but we are going to because I read them extensively again last night, is the role of secretary. So this is essentially the person who keeps track of the meeting notes and make sure that what we talk about in the meeting is reflected in the notes. I'm just going to be honest with you. I definitely have someone in mind who has been, oh, we have a motion right here.
I nominate Mezuba.
I second All right, so we're going to vote for Mezuba for SAC secretary. All right, we didn't ask her if she was interested or anything. Good, perfect. All right. Okay, so here we go. Moving on. Yep. So we got about 7 or 8 minutes left. I want to try to get through this. So it's important that I let you guys know what is in the school improvement plan. And the school improvement plan is it's a state document that every school has to draft, right? It's based on data. It's areas of improvement for us, not just academically. In the last few years, thankful to have Ms. Blair in here. We've seen a huge shift towards like social emotional learning, right? So we're really focusing on the entire student now, not only academics, but then also like their emotional well-being too. So we have 3 goals this year, okay? And one of them, they're pretty meaty. And what I've done is I've kind of synthesized them a little bit, okay? And the school improvement plan is about 10 pages long. We're not going to go through 10 pages. I'm going to talk about the 3 goals specifically in our kind of vision moving forward, okay? The first one is no, go the other way.
The other way.
Right there. So our first goal, now listen, this is a lot of language, so just hang on, I'm gonna tell you, all right? So what we noticed through data analysis, this one is purely academic, okay? What we noticed through data analysis, that we had certain areas that were more deficient than others, areas that we needed to improve upon more, okay? Last year, so we have kids academically that are in our bottom 25%, right? So they're in the lower quartile academically, all right? In math and in ELA. So where we saw our biggest drop last year, and thankfully we only had one category in which we dropped more than, we dropped double-digit points, right? So we dropped 17 points from 2018, 2019 to our FSA that we took last year, okay? Now I'm gonna tell you, it sounds terrible and I'm not happy about it, but I know how our teachers work, and I know some schools dropped more than that, more than double that, in more than one category. So relatively speaking, we're in good shape, all right? So our goal this year is to focus on these students who are in the bottom 25, specifically in ELA, if I can find it. In language arts, yes, thank you. So our goal is not only to make that up, but to gain ground. So our goal is to grow 19 points in this year in this area. Where we dropped 17, we're gonna grow 19 for a +2. It's a lofty goal, but I believe we can do it, okay? Now, I underline this part because we have specific interventions that we implement every day to help these students in the bottom 25. But the reason I underline this is because these interventions don't just support students who are in the bottom 25, the struggling students academically. It supports all our students, all right? Because in theory, it allows us to have time to push our higher students higher through what we call differentiated instruction, and our staff is working hard to embrace that model, okay? Okay? Anybody have any questions about this piece? All right. Okay, next goal. All right, so this is a shift that we started last year. All right, now the teachers met regularly before I came here. My kind of vision is a little bit different, and so we worked last year to implement PLCs, or professional learning communities. And this year we formalized that process even more, where the teachers meet with grade level teams, like first grade meets together. This week, for example, is science, right? So they'll have a formal professional learning community that'll be led by Mr. McDonald, who's in there, all right? He's our science guy, all right? And then they talk formally about like what's going on in each grade level. They talk about standards, they talk about test development, and they talk about data. So through the professional learning communities, our goal is to make sure that we're providing as much guidance to the teachers as possible, and then also being there to support them, having the coaches support the teachers who have the kiddos in the classroom, okay? It's a very formal process. This is nothing new. This PLCs have been around forever. It's just the way we've structured a little bit different than it's been done in the past, okay? Any question about this? It's a lot. All right, and our last one is about culture and environment, but talk specifically about social emotional learning, right? Our goal this year is we built in what we call SEL, social emotional learning. We built SEL blocks into everybody's schedule, right? Kindergarten, first and second grade have an SEL block that they start every day. It's a 15-minute block where they just basically do community building within the class, right? We have specific structures that we provided, or they have themselves, like different ideas that they come up with, or we have very specific ones. We provided a staff development during pre-planning, which we talked about social emotional learning. And so the goal is really to create community within classrooms so they become like a really tight-knit, like cohesive unit. And what we see, the evidence shows, and we're still working on it here, is that because of that, then you have less conflict within the class because they start to rally around each other like a family rather than have more, just like the nitpicky stuff that we see sometimes in elementary, okay? So K1 and 2 have it every day, all right? 3, 4, and 5, they see it at least once a week on Wednesday, and then those teachers are pretty crafty where some of them are mixing it in throughout the day, Some of them are very good, and just when we transition from like one instructional block to the next, like from math to reading, like they're able to mix in a quick little like community building structure just to help bridge that gap in time. Okay, so our goal is we're gonna focus on the whole student, and then all these pieces come together: academics, and then the social emotional piece. Okay, Miss Blair, we're fortunate enough to have a phenomenal school counselor, Miss Blair. If you don't know Miss Blair, she is very passionate about this stuff, and my focus for her is to just work with students who have like these specific needs. Okay, all right. 3 main goals for the school improvement plan. All right, I wanted to present that to you. I want to make sure I can give everyone, once it's published, it's in draft form right now. It's I sent it off to the district, and once they verify it downtown, then they'll publish it. It'll be on our school website, but I can personally give everybody a copy of it. Okay, you can go through all the data. Anybody have any questions about the school improvement plan? No? Okay, so we have about 3 minutes. Now, what I'm going to do in that 3 minutes, this is a lofty goal. Can you go to the next slide? I didn't know if we were going to have time for this, but I want to try to get it done, because this is one thing that if we get it done today, then we don't have to mess with a lot of like the business stuff in our next meeting. We can focus more on our school, okay? These are the bylaws, okay? I have 20 copies, all right? And there are specific focus points in there that, and every school has basically the same shell. Every school has basically the same shell, but then they can be unique to a specific school. I know. I want to make sure everybody has a copy of it so they can look at it. What I did is there are 4 main parts of this that I think if you wanted to look at, that you'd be more than welcome to kind of digest. We talked about a lot of this already. We talked about the purpose of SAC, right? The duties that you all have now as SAC committee members is to help advise me. And then if you have critical feedback or input from me, that this is a safe place. This is the environment to do so. All right. You guys are a trusted group. You guys are invested, and this is an opportunity for you guys to give me that feedback necessary. Okay. And then we'll talk, something that's really exciting here is that if we perform how I think we can perform, that our teachers, not just our teachers, our entire staff will be rewarded with what they call school recognition funds. And then if we grow academically, then everybody in the school will be rewarded financially from the state. But it's the council, it's partially their role to help guide the school as to how those funds will be distributed, right? All right, so this is a very important role, okay? We talked about representation. We talked about the importance of having a good mix of community members and staff members. And then it also, I missed one piece. The school advisory council should be representative of our school demographic, right? So with that being said, it's like if our population consists of X amount of Hispanic, X amount of Black, X amount of white, that we make sure that the council in here is representative of our school population, which it should be, right? Okay. And then meetings, the formal process of the meeting. And then if you're interested, you can Google Robert's Rules of Order and the way that these meetings are conducted. It's a very formal process that the state follows. And as we get more comfortable with our meeting and our committee, that we can really get into Robert's Rules of Order. It took me a while to figure it out a couple years ago. But, so what I want to do today is I want to give you guys here a minute or two to ask questions about the bylaws. If you look at something and you see something that doesn't make sense or you have questions about, ask those questions. And then I'm going to ask that we can verify the bylaws for this year. Or if not, that means that we have to make amendments, which we can do. We can do it next meeting. It's interesting, like I read the tenure one again last night, talking about how long a board member can serve. Like certain schools have people who get on the school advisory council and just ride it out for years. So they had to put a tenure rule in there, like a term limit. It was wild. So,
It's my 11th year.
huh?
It's my 11th year.
Oh wow! All right, you're voted out. All right, so does anybody? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to propose that we vote to verify the bylaws. Now, if anybody is opposed because they want to take these home and read them over the next month, and then we can verify them next meeting, I'm cool with that too. It doesn't matter. But I can promise you there are no tricks in this, and that this is essentially the same document that we've had here for years. All I did was edit the top, and that we're having the meeting today on the very first line. So, is anybody opposed to verifying the bylaws today? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to motion that we vote to approve the School Advisory Council bylaws for the 2021-22 school year. Can I get a second? All right, we got a second. So we're going to vote. Everybody approve the bylaws for this year? Oh man, listen, I'm going to tell you that this has been an ultra productive meeting. Janet, last slide. So we're done. Thank you guys. This was a busy meeting. We had a ton of housekeeping stuff to get through, but we were very productive. Now we know who our chair is, our vice chair, our secretary. We know our committee, all right, and we have our school improvement plan in the mix, and we have our bylaws, okay? Now, congratulations to everybody. I was going to throw out there that our next meeting would be Wednesday, November 17th. That's right before we go to Thanksgiving break. In the morning, it would be this time from 7:45 to maybe 8:15. We're a little long right now. I would entertain if people want to stay back and you want to talk to me and you're dead set on meeting at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. That's one option. We can't really do any earlier than that because some people do have work obligations that run up to that. So I'm open for anything. I don't care. I mean, I'm up for whatever. So we'll talk about that. So, but I have November 17th on the books. It's a Wednesday. We're going to meet once a month. Anything as we conclude? Questions, comments, concerns? Wow. And the buzzer goes off.
Can the meeting be at like around 9 a.m.?
Listen, that's a really good point. The only problem with that is that our staff members then wouldn't be able to attend because they are in session. But what I will say is that we do have the live stream option. So you could watch it virtually. I know that we did have a number of people chime in today. We'll do our best to accommodate everyone. I want to make sure that this is a good time and group for everyone, but also that we know that a majority of us have to be here. So we'll make a decision for the majority. Okay. Questions?
When watching on the media, can we ask?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a message function for sure. Miss Torres, who just had to step out because she had class, she monitors the chat. Absolutely. That's a great question.
Okay.
Great question. Yep.
That's good.
It's also the day for the fall festival, so we need lots of support and volunteers for that.
Yeah. So what I would say is if you're not on your
Same
child's,
day?
The same
what is that night? Yeah.
But at 9
Yep.
a.m.?
No, nighttime. In the evening.
In la noche.
Oh, and then
Yeah. Hey, my last thing I'll say, and then I'll get you guys out of here, is we do have, if you're not on your kid's class dojo, right? So if you're not interacting with your child's teacher on class dojo, please do so, because my goal this year is to push information about the school out on class dojo, okay? And if you're not getting those messages, I need to know that. Just casual stuff about school advisory council, emergency stuff will still go out through the messenger, all right, through the phone, but get on dojo, and if you have any questions, let me know, okay?
You were about to talk about
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Thank you. Man, you're killing it. Great job. Hey, that's what I was gonna say. I put a message out yesterday about our amazing PTA. Okay, we have an amazing PTA here. We have a group of, I would say, 7 or 8 parents who absolutely dominate our PTA and do a great job with it. The only thing is, like, our membership is very lean, right? We have about 90% of our staff, but our community membership is very lean. It's $10 to join, right? And at $10 you get, what do you go? I'm sorry, we have 2 of our PTA members.
20 for the shirt.
So it's $10 for membership or $20 for a shirt and a membership, okay? I would, man, at very least, these people work so hard to do great things for our kids and for the staff. If you have $10 or $20 to invest, I'd be greatly appreciated. And then they have a couple events coming up. October 28th, we have a drive-in movie night here. It's going to be right out here in the field, big screen. You can park in your cars and eat popcorn, watch a movie. It's going to be great. And then we have Fall Festival on November 17th. All right, a lot of cool things coming up and more stuff in the second half of the year. Check out PTA. The link is in the dojo message I put out yesterday, okay? All right, guys, that's it. I know some of you got to go. Have a great day. If you want to stay back and ask questions, I'll be here, okay? Thank you so much. Man, what a great meeting. We had less than